Welcome, everyone. You're in the session of Positive Solutions for Families of Young Children, which will be presented by Denise Bouyer Hardgrove. I'm Jeanette Mejias, and I will be facilitating the chat box and monitoring. Please make sure that you mute your line so we have a clear feedback. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Denise. Denise?
Thank you, Jeanette. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining me this afternoon in this session. I know you could be anywhere. It's such a beautiful day here in New Jersey, and I really appreciate your spending time with me. As Jeanette said, my name is Denise Bouyer Hartgrove. I'm a director at SPAN Parent Advocacy Network. So for those of you who don't know about SPAN, SPAN is kind of like a one-stop shop for families here in New Jersey. And this is a collage of some of the programs and services that we offer through SPAN. I'm the director of the New Jersey Inclusive Childcare. And so what I do is I provide trainings and support to childcare professionals on including children with special needs and disabilities. But today I'm going to talk to you about a curriculum that is used for families, and it's called Teaching Me What to Do. Actually, it's called Positive Solutions for Families. And one of the sessions out of that training that I'm going to focus on today is teaching me what to do, meaning the child saying to their parent, teach me what to do so I know what to do and that I can always be, a good child or a good boy, a good girl doing what, my mother or my teachers are requesting of me. So these are some of the objectives that you will have as a result of this session. I'm going to talk to you about different strategies families can use during episodes when their children might engage in behavior that the parent may not be pleased with or the teacher may not be pleased with. And then we're going to talk about ways where we can help understand how to teach children to express themselves with their words rather than using their behavior to express themselves. And we're going to talk about ways that we can help children develop those critical problem-solving skills, and I'll talk about them a little bit later. And then we're going to look at some strategies that we as adults can use to help our children to demonstrate the behavior that we'd like to see them demonstrate at home and in community settings. So, but I want to give you some background on the information I'm going to give you today. So as I said before, this came out of a research-based information around positive solutions for families. And along with the information came different activities and a workbook that helps families to create positive solutions within their own families. Because I'm not going to talk about any specific family, but I am going to talk about those general things that all families experience with their children. But when you finish this session, you will have access to the workbook, the handout, and the PowerPoint. All of that will be made available for you. And it gives you some other ideas about how to really help families address those situations in their own home. But I want to tell you also that, if you need any additional information about this, this is a website that you can go to get additional information. And I've also included this website on the last slide at the end as a reference for you in case you want to research more information. And I think you will, because when I learned about these sessions, they really helped to empower me as a parent, not only as a parent, but it helped to empower me as a professional where I can help professionals to work with families too. So let me tell you a little bit about how this training session came to be about. So this may be familiar to many of you. This is a picture of the pyramid model. And many states across our country has adopted this model as a way to work with children, young children in early childhood settings like childcare program, preschool programs, and district elementary programs. They adopted this framework as a way to help children and to address some of the behavior that they were seeing in children. Because we know that behavior is a form of communication. When children act out and they display behavior that sometimes challenges us, they're trying to tell us something. Sometimes a child may not have the words to express it. They may not have the literacy to even understand what is going on with them within themselves, or even how to express it to an adult, that they may need help. They may want to participate in something a little longer, or they may be just trying to avoid something as simple as bedtime, or eating a food that they may not want to eat, but we know it's nutritious for them and it has a lot of benefits for them. So the pyramid model is a way for teachers and early child care providers to work with those children and build those critical social emotional skills that all children need. So in order to do that, it starts out with an effective workforce. And that's a workforce that has been trained in all of the systems and policies that promote and sustain evidence-based practices used with young children. So, although this was created for professionals, the positive solutions and some of the information I'm going to talk to you about today was created for families. So, it's parallel to what our children receive in childcare programs and what they receive in some school district program. So, the positive solutions give families an opportunity to use the same techniques and strategies that teachers use, but use them at home. And this is really critical, especially now with so many of our children engaging in remote learning, and so many of our families working from home, or some families not working at all. There's a lot of stress and a lot of tension in the home environment because of the different changes that each person is experiencing. So these positive solutions and these techniques I'm going to talk to you about today, they are very timely for our families right now, because many families, when they found they were home with their children, they were not sure of how best to handle different situations that came up. And we've had situations where family members would call and say, well, I don't know what they're doing in school. I don't know how they are addressing this in school. What can I do? So this session I'm giving you, and afterwards, I hope you will learn a little bit more about them. They really do help families to be calm and help them to work through different situations their children may find themselves in, help to settle the stress level in the home. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. But this pyramid really demonstrates what the positive solutions is about. It's about, if we change effective workforce to being an effective parent, or an effective family member. And then we talk about all of those things that we can use with all children, those promotion strategies that help all children to develop their social emotional competencies. And social emotional competencies are things like having a good self-worth about themselves, having a good self-image, developing confidence in themselves, being a team player, being a good friend, learning how to share, learning how to get along with everyone, learning how to follow direction. Those are social emotional competencies that all children need. And the best place to teach them this is in the home, because once they learn it in the home, then when they go to school, they can demonstrate those same skills in the school environment. And so I'll talk a little bit more about this pyramid as we go through the session. And if you have questions, please post them in the chat, because then I'll have Jeanette let me know about your questions towards the end. But I want to just give you this information that I think is so vital and so critical for your families. So with the pyramid model, it starts out with creating an effective workforce, or creating effective parents, and providing you with universal strategies you can use with all children, whether they're children who have special needs, children with health concerns, or typically developing children, because we know that no two children develop along the same linear pathway. All children develop at different levels and at different times based on their experiences. And then so we look at some of those universal things that we can do with all of our children. Then we'll look at those secondary level of children who need a little bit more targeted supports than just the universal strategies provide. Then we'll look at those children who have really challenging behaviors that may require some intensive intervention. Whereas in the school district, an intervention might be to put a one-on-one aid with a child to help them navigate the school day. But in the home, it's using mom or dad or older siblings that are helping with the development of the children in the household. So we're going to look at things that we can put in the home that can help with children who may have more intensive needs that are not being met by the promotional strategies and the prevention strategies. We're going to look at tertiary strategies. Okay. So first, I want you to just take a minute and reflect for a moment. Think about someone who was really, really special to you as you were growing up. Just think about who that person was and think about, why did you think of them? What did they do to make them, what did they do that made you feel special? And why were they so important to you? So we want to think about that, because in order for us to help children and build nurturing and responsive relationships, a lot of times it's grounded in our own experience. And it's so critical that we be able to reflect on that, because every child needs one person who is absolutely, totally, outrageously crazy about them. And this is a quote by Yuri Brenner. And I added, and deserve. I added that every child needs and deserve one person who is absolutely, totally, over the moon crazy about them. This is where it starts. If we're ever going to make changes with our children, or help support them to develop emotional competencies, we have to demonstrate to them that we're absolutely, totally crazy about them and in love with them. And there are various ways we do that within our families. And so when children feel that way, that helps set them up for success. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. So, spending time with children is so important because it goes towards their social emotional well being. Smiling at them, laughing with them, taking time up with them shows them that we value them and we value who they are in our lives. Even though sometimes there are challenging things that come up in a family dynamics that kind of interferes with that, or try to interfere with that. But we have to remember that we always have to be our child's biggest ally and biggest fan. And then we also want to, while we're doing that and showing them how much we love them, we also want to be able to build positive relationships with our children in all circumstance. We want to be able to fill them up. We want to be able to, at every occasion that we can, fill them up. Think about a car. And when a car runs out of gas, it can't go anywhere, right? Same thing with our children. If they don't have a deep emotional reservoir, they can't pull on that when they really need to. So children need to be filled up with praises and compliments and encouragement, and letting them know that they are loved and that they are protected and that they are secure. And then they internalize that by developing a good social well-being about themselves. And that shows in their attitude and their interactions with other people. Don't you agree? So when we fill our children up with good experiences, like the experiences you may have been reflecting on when you thought about that one person in your life as you were growing up, who made you feel like you were the most important person in the world, children can draw upon that, because self-esteem and self-worth has a lot to do in how we interact with one another. So these are some ideas that we can do to fill up our children's relationship tank. We can take some time and do these activities so that children understand how valuable they are to us. I'm not going to go over all of them. I'm sure you're reading them as I'm talking on the slide. But, eating dinner together, going for a walk, singing some favorite songs, even making up silly songs will give that child something to reflect on and draw upon when their emotional bank is empty. And they will remember that you are the one who makes them feel good. You are the one who makes them feel better. You're the one who helps things become more manageable in their life. So these are just a few of the ideas that we can, implement in our interaction with our children to help fill up their tank. And so with this session, there will become a workbook for you. And in each session in the workbook, it will provide you with some tips and some encouragement of things to try at home. So, but in establishing or trying to reestablish a good relationship with our children, I don't know where you are with your children. I'm not, and I think it doesn't really matter. But when you're trying to establish a good relationship with your child and fill them up, there's some things that you want to do beforehand to make sure. You want to make sure you have your child's attention. Make sure your child is either, if they're not looking at you, make sure they're hearing you. They're hearing you when you praise them. For instance, if you're in the kitchen and you're washing dishes and your child is in the other room watching TV or playing with toys, just calling their name, Jonathan, Jonathan, do you hear mommy call you? I like how you're playing in the room. I like how you're keeping yourself busy. I like how you're watching TV and you're not making a lot of noise. I like that. Mommy's very pleased with that. Thank you for doing that. Making a point to be intentional about offering praises and compliments to our children all throughout the day. You know, there's a saying, catch them being good. Always catch them being good, and giving them those praises and compliments, and doing it with enthusiasm, showing them how happy whatever they're doing is making you. And also complimenting that with maybe a soft touch or a kiss on the forehead or a hug. Complimenting it and pairing it with some type of demonstration of love goes a long ways in building our children's self-esteem, and it helps fill them up. It helps them to be ready for the next situation that might be proven challenging for you or for them. So one of the goals of this Positive Solutions for Families is that it provides ideas to us to help our children to feel loved, safe, and special, and all of these other bullets that I've listed on this slide. It helps them in the long run with building relationships with other people. So we want our children to be comfortable, to be able to build relationships with their teachers. We want them to be comfortable and confident to be able to build relationships with friends. We want, when they go onto the playground, to be able to ask, you know, can I swing in the swing after you finish? Or would you like to come over and play with me in the sandbox? We want to be able to prepare them so that they will be able to have those soft skills of engagement that will make them successful, not only in childhood, but all throughout their lives, right? And especially in developing friendships. We know how important developing friendships is within schools or even at the workplace. How many jobs have you ever interviewed and asked, and the interviewer asked you, are you a team player? Do you get along with everyone? Do you know how to communicate well? So this is what the Positive Solutions help our children to be able to do. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. But I want to show you this video real quick. And it's about, I want you to see how this dad helps his young child to feel love and feel all of the things that I just talked about, in building good relationships with our children, and building refilling their emotional gas tank. Okay, let me play this for you.
Well, I think it's perfect that we came here to have a booth chat just amongst father and son, right? Well, I brought you here to find out what's going on in your life. What's going on in your life, huh? Really? And that's your favorite cartoon? They canceled it? Oh man, we gotta send a letter to the network and tell them they gotta bring that back. Ah, that is good bacon. Right. Exactly why coming to Denise makes us feel better about that. Thanks, Mom. Appreciate that. Thanks. The bacon was amazing. You're right. You know what I'm saying? We don't even got to worry about it because we can come here, have breakfast, eat, right, and talk about it, right? We could come here and talk about it. Right, I got you. Don't worry about it. Right, exactly. Thank you for bringing Daddy here. I appreciate you.
You see, all the things that this dad did for this little boy without really even just not even knowing that they were doing it. All of this great interaction that they had. I'm sure this little boy, this left an impression on his mind that he will probably take throughout his old age, right? And just think about how they just shared this experience together, the two of them. And just think about how, the father, although he would, the little boy was doing what we call baby talk or jargon, the father still kept building him up and filling up his emotional tank and giving him the words and describing some of the things that the child may not know. Like he labeled bacon. He talked about some of the emotions that a young child might have. So this is just an example of how we can spend time with our children. And it's not so much what we want to do, but it's letting them lead us to what they would like for us to do with them. So I want to talk to you now about, play, and why play is so important for our young children, right? And I want to talk to you a little bit about, you know, what does play actually mean? So if the video that we just saw, I would categorize that as play because the little boy was having fun. He was doing something that he likes to do, and he was doing something that both father and son like to do. So in a way, that was kind of like play. And the father was teaching the young child about something while they were both having a good time and enjoy it. So let's think about this. So what are some benefits of children playing? Think about the things that really help them when they play. You might come up with ideas like it makes children feel very happy. It's good for families. Families enjoy it. It's a good time for a child to become creative. It helps children develop positive relationships. We teach children new skills. Think about all the things that little boy was learning by just engaging with his father and being out with his father. So let's also think conversely, what are some of the barriers to doing it? So you might come to mind that some barriers might be you don't have the time. Parents work during the day, and when they get home they're busy with trying to either make a meal or prepare their children to be home, getting them ready for bed, and their time, parents may feel their time is limited. There may not be enough space to play. Depending on where you live, you may not have enough room in your home to play, or you may not feel safe going outside and play. And sometimes we think that play has to be defined in a general area, that it has to be outside of the norm. But actually we can infuse play into everything we do, because the way children learns best is that they do it through play. That's how we teach them. So as parents, we need to be intentional about the time that we set aside to play and interact with our children. So it doesn't have to be an all day experience. It could just be 15 to 20 minutes a day of intentionally playing with our children. And some other things that we know about play is we learn, well, teachers know this because they try to infuse it into the school day or into the early learning environment. So we know that play is a natural tool for intervention. If a child is feeling unhappy about something, if we think about a play game or play activity, it immediately changes their disposition. And it also allows the adult to see what the child's needs are. When children are assessed to see if there's any developmental concerns, they use play in order to identify if there's any developmental concerns a child may have. And we can address a lot of areas of need for children who have disabilities simply through play. So how do we play with our children? One of the ways we want to do it is we always want to follow our child's lead. We don't want to just go in and start doing things. We want to just find out what it is our child is doing. What is it that they like to do? And then we want to just wait, and then we want to engage. We want to wait. We want to follow our child's lead and wait for the opportunity to come in and engage in the play. We don't want to take over the play. So if some of you moms are like me, when my daughter was playing with her easy baking oven, I used to just take it over because I was like, wow, this was one of my favorite things that I like to play as a little girl. But no, you have to restrain yourself and let your child lead. And when you're in the play, you don't want to ask questions about the play. You want to kind of narrate. You want to be like a sportscaster. I see you're using your easy bake oven. That's nice. Oh, it would be nice to make a cake. I see you're stirring up something that looks like you're making a cake. Because sometimes, depending on the age of the child and development of the child, they may not have the language to be able to talk to you about what it is that they're doing or what it is that they like to do. So, but by you describing what they're doing, you're building their literacy skill. You're giving them the verbiage that they will need. So we want to let our children lead us. So these are some other ways to really be a very powerful parent in helping you to engage with your child. And this is listed in the workbook that you'll get at the end of the session, is be intentional about play. Set a play goal. For instance, before I do the dishes or I put the dishes in the dishwasher, I'm going to spend 15 to 20 minutes with my child, either reading a book, playing with their favorite game, doing a board game with them, or just doing patty cakes or singing a song. You want to be intentional about that, right? And then you want to decide what it is that you'd like to do together. And then just notice how your child react, because sometimes if this is a new thing and children and your child might not be used to you just stopping everything and playing with them, they may just kind of like be a little surprised. And that's your time to tell them how much you love them, how much you appreciate them, how much you enjoy being with them, and how much you like playing the game, and just helping them to move through that experience. That is a bonding experience that will help you and your child to feel even closer. Okay. So another thing about play is play helps children to develop those great friendship skills. So by your interacting with your child for 15 to 20 minutes, you're spending time helping them to learn about sharing. If your child is playing, like I said, the easy bake oven, we'll use that again. So you may offer, I can stir that for you if you like while you go prepare the oven, helping to guide them and teach them about that experience that they may not be fully aware. Or if they're building blocks, you have a small child and they're building blocks and building a tower, you can offer and say, well, I like the blue one. Can I put the blue one on top? Or here's a blue one. You might want to mix this in with the red and the yellow. You're teaching them about colors at that point. So friendship skills and play skills, they go hand in hand, because we want to teach our children all of these skills. So when we think about children who have a lot of friends, who are well-liked, these are some of the qualities that we see in people that we think are really good friends. They are team players. They don't mind sharing. They understand empathy. They have empathy. They can tell when we're upset, and they will come alongside of us and offer us some comfort if they think that we're upset. And they have really good problem-solving skills, and they have a really good grasp of emotional literacy skills. So we want to be able to teach our children to be able to have those types of skills as well, right? So I want to play another short video with you, because sometimes parents may not really understand how important friendship skills is and how children view friendship skills. And this is a video of young children talking about what they think of friendship. So I'm going to play this for you.
We play tic-tac-toe and we play tag sometimes. No. Oh. It's when somebody meet each other and they just start to really like them. Friendship is a thing that's between people that you really, really like.
What do you do with your friends together?
Share with them and play with them. Run around together and play tag together, play hide and seek together. Tag, hide and seek, freeze tag. Well, I don't play big kid games. I have a puzzle game, a socks game. And you can play games by yourself, because it's not fun.
How do you treat your friends?
I treat them really nice.
How do you feel with your friends?
So glad.
See, kids, oh, excuse me, pop me out. Okay, I just want to make sure you can see my screen.
Yes, although I guess apparently I use them incorrectly. I don't know. I use them for what they look like to me. So if they're wrong, tough shit. Like,
I'm sorry. Okay. That's funny. But anyway, so we see how kids feel about friends and why they feel about friendship skill. So it's important that we teach our children how to be good friends. And there are ways we can do that. So getting back to the pyramid that I showed you earlier, we're looking at this bottom layer here of nurturing and supportive relationships and building high quality supportive environments for our children and teaching our children how to play and how to engage with one another is really important. So one of the ways we can help our children to play and make friends is we want to prepare our children beforehand, right? So if we're going out to the playground and we're taking our children out, we want to tell them, listen, we're going to go out to the playground and you might run into a child who's playing in the swings. And I know that's your favorite thing to play with on the playground, but you may have to ask them if you can take turns. So let's practice. You're asking, can you take turns? And then if you interact with your child and you kind of go through a scenario and you give them the supports they need, just in case the person says no, or just in case the person says yes. Or even if you're scheduling a play date with your best friend and their children, or you're having a family gathering and their children coming over, you want to prepare your child and let them know that, we're going to have family over and there's going to be other children here, your brothers and sisters or your cousins, they will be here. And I want you to think about the toys that you want them to play with or the toys that you don't want them to play with, because we know our children have favorite toys. So we want to prepare them and say, well, if you don't want them to play with this toy, let's put this away and let's take out the toys that you want to play with, your cousins or your friends when they come over. And then you want to keep monitoring them just to support your child, to give them the skills they need and the supports they need during the time. And again, catching them being good. Hey, Jonathan, I like how you're playing with your cousin. You guys seem like you're having a really good time, and I like you playing. You're playing very nice together. And giving them that support during that time so they know that what they're doing is the right thing and they can keep doing that. And then afterwards, you want to kind of debrief. Did you enjoy playing with your cousins today? Did you enjoy playing with your friends? What did you like most about playing with them? What was your favorite activity that you guys did? What game did you play? Was there anything that happened that you wasn't happy with? Really helping them to work through whatever happened during that situation and just kind of being able to support them. So those are ways we can help our children to learn and to play and to make friends. Okay, so now I want to talk to you about the things that we really need to put in place if we're going to help our children to be successful. Because knowing that our children, they don't know. They don't know what they don't know. So we have to not only show them and tell them we not only have to tell them, but we really have to show them. I grew up with the saying, don't do as I do what I tell you to do. And I'm like, okay. And as I got older, I saw that didn't work with my child. So I have to teach her, tell her, as well as show her. And that's what we have to do with young children. We have to be the example for them. And we have to practice it. Not everyone gets it right. No one is a perfect parent. We're all striving and trying to do the best we can as we raise our children. So we have to practice it and we have to let them practice. And I'll talk to you about some of the skills we have to let children practice. And when they get it, we have to really be happy, enthusiastic, and excited when they do accomplish what we are asking them to accomplish. So first, we want to start off with, we want to make sure our child and children understand what our expectations are. We want them to have a clear understanding of what to do instead of what not to do. So we want to promote telling our children what to do rather than telling them what not to do, such as don't spill the water on the floor. You know, we want to tell them what to do, what not to do. So instead of saying, stop spilling the water on the floor, say, well, is that glass large enough? Come and get a larger cup or a larger glass, or you come and sit down at the table so this way you won't spill it on the floor. So we need to give them the expectation and give them more direction about what it is, what to do rather than what not to do. And stating our requests very simply and understandable for them, making sure we use age appropriate language as well as having age appropriate expectations, right? So we wouldn't expect a 3-year-old to be able to do some of the things that a 5-year-old does, right? So we want to make sure our expectations are clear and that, you know, our expectations are reasonable. So one of the ways we can do this is by setting rules. So there's a rule to setting rules, and it's important that children have rules. We have rules everywhere we go. Even in schools, there are rules. In childcare, there are rules. Even within your home environment, there are rules. But do your children or does your child understand what the rules are? And are they aware of our expectation of their behavior for the rules? So you want to pick 3 to 5 rules, and it all depends on whether a child has the ability to understand the rules. So one of the things we want to do is teach the rules to them first. So we pick 3 or 5 rules to teach our children, whether it be pick your clothes up off the floor, take a bath before you go to bed. So those are the rules we want to be able to teach our children. And then we want to pick rules that we can apply in a lot of different situations so they learn the skills. Excuse me for a minute. I think I have a slight emergency. Excuse me for just 1 second. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Turns out I locked my husband out the door, so I have to go and let him in anyway. So we want to pick some rules. Getting back to this, so we want to pick some rules that that our children understand, and we want to be able to show them what those rules look like. So as I said earlier, here's a clear example of a rule: clean up after yourself. Pick your clothes up off the floor and clean your bedroom up. And we always want to use an inside voice when we're teaching our children these rules. So we want to stay calm, and we want to use an inside voice because we want to teach our children to use an inside voice. So we want to also teach them to ask before they use something that is not theirs. So the reason for that is because we know that children can get into situations at school or preschool if they take things that are not theirs. So we have to teach them that, not to do that. And we also want to use words to help solve a problem. So laying down or throwing yourself on the floor is not the right answer to address a problem behavior. You don't want to do that. So you want to teach them to use words to help solve their problems, right? So sometimes children may not have the literacy, or they may not be able to understand when we are teaching them rules. So we may want to use pictures to do that. Teachers use pictures a lot to teach children about rules and what to do. If cleaning up is a rule that you want your child to know, you want to take a picture of the area that's cleaned already, show it to your child and say, this is what the room looks like when it's clean. So when mommy says go and clean the room, you try to make your room look exactly like this. Or even when it comes to making up a bed, you can teach a young child, you can teach a 4-year-old how to make their own bed. It may not be the way you make it, right? It may not be the way it would be in the military, but they can make an attempt to make their bed. And as they continue to do it, they will get better and better at it, right? So that's where that practice come involved. Then you may also want to use what we call a job chart. So what I used to do is I used to post a chart on the back of my daughter's bathroom so that she knew what to do when she went into the bathroom. I neglected to say earlier that my daughter has Down syndrome. She's 23 years old and she's very high functioning. She's able to take care of herself and do all the things she needs to do as far as hygiene wise, because I use the job chart to help teach her. When you go into the bathroom, especially if you're going in before school, you wash your face, you brush your teeth, you comb your hair, and you make sure your clothes are correct. There was a mirror, so she could always check herself in the mirror to make sure her clothes were correct. And she learned how to follow the directions on that job chart that I had laid out for her of things she needs to do in the bathroom. I did the same thing for the bedroom, the things you need to do in the bedroom. When you get up in the morning, you take off your pajamas, you put on your regular clothes, and then you put on your shoes, your socks, and your shoes. So some children may need that. But young children, when you're trying to teach them things, think about doing a job chart to make it easy for them. So I want to talk a little bit more about timeout. And whether you use timeout or not, that's your personal choice. Or you use spanking or things, that's your personal choice. But I'm going to show you how we can better use timeout, because sometimes timeout gets misused. Okay, so timeout, when we're doing a timeout, we should always do it when we're calm. You never want to discipline your child when you're angry. You never want to discipline your child when you feel that your emotions are high. You don't want to scold your child when you're doing timeout, because the timeout itself is a discipline. And you always want to present to your child that you love them no matter what their behaviors are. But sometimes when we let our emotions get in the way, it sends them a mixed message, right? So, and then we also think about how long we're going to apply the timeout. So timeout can't be used for a long period of time, and it should be something that's done immediately so that it is effective, right? So let's look at some ways to properly use timeout, right? So first, children need to understand what timeout is. That timeout is a time for them to take a break and to calm down and to think about their behavior and how you have shown them about the rules and that they might have broken a rule. So one way is you want to set a timeout for about no more than 3 to 4 minutes. And the rule for timeout is if it's for 4-year-old, it shouldn't be no more than 3 minutes. If it's a 5-year-old, it should be between 3 to 4 minutes, just enough time to let the child calm down so that they're able to hear the instructions that you are planning to give them, okay? And timeout should be used immediately when a situation occurs. For instance, if you're at the table and your child keeps kicking their brother or sister under the table, and you tell them, we don't kick each other. We keep our feet on the floor and our hands to ourselves. You do not hit your brother. And if he continues to do it, you tell the child, okay, well, you're going to go to timeout if you keep doing that. And if they continue to do it, that's when you take the child to timeout. So the child has to learn what timeout is first, and you have to teach that to them. And then when you use it, you only want to use it for a brief time. And then when the time is over, you go over to the child and say, you can come out of timeout now. So do you understand why you went to timeout? And you have to make sure that the child understands why they went to timeout and that their behavior was not acceptable. So now you're teaching them about consequences. So, and this may take a few tries to do that, but if you continue to do it, eventually they will begin to understand that their actions have consequences. So one of the things we want to do is we want to also be observing of what is it our child's behavior is trying to tell us. And we can look at activity number 5 in your workbook. That's in your workbook, it talks about how to be a good detective and see where your child's behavior is trying to tell you, because we know behavior is a form of communication. It's either the child is trying to get out of something or trying to get something. And you want to develop house rules about what is acceptable, what is expected in the house. And it would be a good idea if you have more, even if you have one child, engaging them in the rules. So these are the rules of the house. You have to clean up the dishes. After you eat, you have to take your dish off the table, take it into the kitchen, and whether you wash dishes or you want the child to rinse their dish off and put it in the dishwasher, or rinse it or wash it, you have to explain those rules to the child. And if you've got older children who are like 4 or 5, and if you've got more than one child in the house, you may get all the children involved. Say, what other rules should we include as things that we want to include as a rule in the house? Some children may say, well, I don't want him hitting me anymore. I don't want him touching my toys. I don't want him going into my room. All of those could be part of the household rules. I want everyone to knock on the door before they come into the room. Those are household rules that we have to teach our children. And again, teaching them these rules have lasting effects outside of the home. Okay.
So Denise, I just wanted to share a couple of comments are in the chat box. Melissa Harper shares, as a parent with a child with special needs, we must use different modalities, or instance visual cues, prompting before changing routine. And then Roxanne shares, I think it's important to also add rewards.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. See, you ladies and gentlemen are getting ahead of my presentation, but you're absolutely right. Using visuals, that goes in line with the pictures. Sometimes having a picture of an expectation gives children a model of what it is expected of them. Also labeling, along with the picture, just to support their vocabulary and their literacy needs. Putting the words underneath a picture helps them to understand it, and we have to remember that children are learning all the time, and we have to put in those supports to help them. And I agree with everything you ladies said. Okay, so even with children who have special needs, this is really, really important for them as well. So now I'm going to talk to you about emotional literacy. Sometimes the way children feel and what they're presenting to us, we don't know what they are. Sometimes we have to guess. Even today, because my daughter she has communication deficits. I show her that little smiley face that they have in the doctor's office. When you go to the doctor's office, they ask the children to pick one of the smiley faces that depicts how they're feeling, sick, happy, whatever. Now I ask my daughter, how do you feel? Which one of these emotions describe how you feel? Because for those of you who don't know, children who have Down syndrome and other children who have special needs, they may not be able to tell you how they feel, or they may just not tell you that they're sick when they are sick, because they may not want to worry you, a whole bunch of other reasons. But some of them are reluctant to tell us how they feel. So what we want to do in situations like that, we want to give them the words, right? We want to teach them how to express themselves. So one of the things that we can do is we have to be able to teach children about emotional literacy and help them to build a strong foundation in emotional vocabulary, so that they are able to tell us when they're feeling frustrated, when they're not feeling happy, when they're sad, when something disappoints them, when something happened that you need as a parent to have more information about. So in your workbook, there's lots of handouts, there's tons of activities in there about how you can help your child to be able to talk about their feelings and help them to be able to express themselves, and how they can reflect on situation and discuss how they feel. Well, when you were playing with your friend Jonathan, I noticed when you came home, you were really upset. What happened? Oh, okay. Well, that's normal. Sometimes we get upset when someone doesn't do what we like for them to do. So, how best can we handle that? So this presents us with a good time to talk about our children emotions, right? And not let them keep it inside, depleting their reserve of social emotional competencies that we've been building up in them, right? Because we can build our children up, but it may take one instance to just deflate them and take away their whole self-esteem and their confidence. So we want to be able to identify that and help keep refilling them up. So teaching them about the different emotions that they go through is critical because that's life, right? We know things happen. So in your workbook, there is a handout about emotional vocabulary, and it describes a lot of emotions that we've all go through or we can experience. And this is a time for you to take some moment and just kind of maybe pick 3 or 4 words off the list and just kind of make sure your child understands them and knows these words and how to apply them and how they can use them to describe themselves. So this is similar to the faces that I show my daughter. I mean, I use adult faces, but in young children, we could use these types of faces to have them. So tell me how you're feeling today. Do you feel frustrated when you finishing your homework? Is this how you feel after you're doing your homework? Does remote learning make you feel this way? Or just kind of helping them to be in tune to the different emotions that they're learning, right? That they may be experiencing. And ways that we can help children to really understand, especially young children, understand emotional literacy is we can create different things. We can create songs around it. We can create social stories around it. We can read books around it to help them to better understand emotional literacy. So here's a song here that was created to help children to learn to express their emotions. If you're happy and you know it, hug your mom or hug your teacher or shake someone's hand. If you're sad and you know it, cry boo hoo or, have tears coming down your eyes, and there are different ways we can help children to understand. So remembering, if we make it fun, it has a much longer and lasting impression because children are more receptive to fun things and they will be able to grasp these ideas and these and helping to build their emotional literacy. There are books that you can go to the library or download off the internet and help teach children about their emotion. This is just one example of one. And there are other books here, and I've listed these books in the workbook section that you can download after we finish this session. So we want to be able to teach children about how to control their anger and their impulses, because I think this is the behavior that really just kind of get to us because we don't know exactly what it is that is happening. So we have to be able to help children to recognize when they're feeling anger in themselves and when they see it in others, and we need to be able to explain it to them, and we have to teach them ways to deal with their anger, teach them how to calm down, and teaching them and helping them to understand appropriate ways to express their anger. And so children don't know. So when they're trying to express themselves, if they don't have that skill, they're going to act it out. So in your workbook is another activity around Tucker the Turtle. Some of you may know Tucker the Turtle, but for those of you who don't, Tucker the Turtle was created to help young children to understand their emotion, to help them to problem solve, to show them what to do when they run into a situation that may cause them to be angry, sad, or unhappy. So it starts out with a child recognizing, I'm sorry, quick hands here, recognizing that there's been a change in their emotion, that they're either angry or sad or mad or unhappy. And that's that red thing. Something hits you or something just comes to you or something happens to you that make you change your emotion, that changing your emotion. So the first thing you do is you stop and think. You stop what you're doing and think, what's going on? What do I do? And if you're not sure, you take a moment to breathe, to clear your mind, to calm down, and to think of a situation that can help you get out of it. And then you can come out of your shell and put your solution into play. So I'm going to go through it a little bit with you, because this is a social story about Tucker, who is a turtle and who has some challenges. So you can download this book that's in your workbook and staple it and read it to your child, as it's a way to help them to do problem solving. So it starts out with Tucker the turtle is a terrific turtle. He likes to play with his friends at the park and in his backyard, right? And then it goes on, but sometimes things happen that can make Tucker really mad. And here's the chance to talk to your child about what Tucker looked like when he's mad. His eyes get all wide, his face get all tense. You could talk to them to help describe what anger looks like or being mad looks like. And next it goes on to say, when Tucker got mad, I can't see this above this here, sorry. Because I have okay, there it is. When Tucker got mad, he used to hit, kick, or yell at his friends. His friends would get mad or upset when he hit, kicked, or yelled at them. So if you have children who are in childcare, we hear this a lot. Children are kicking one another, they're hitting one another, they're spitting on one another, they're doing things that is causing another child to feel hurt or harm. So children in preschool, they can relate to this. And so they can pick up on this. And then it goes on to say, Tucker now knows a new way to think like a turtle when he gets mad. So the nice thing about a turtle is, you talk about a turtle and the features of a turtle, that they carry a shell on their back and they're able to pull their head and their feet into their shells when they feel threatened, and teachers really get into elaborating about what a turtle does and how children can relate to this and do the same thing. And now he can stop and keep his hands and body and yelling to himself, right? That was the step 2. Next, he can tuck himself into his shell and take 3 deep breaths to calm down. 1, 2, 3. And then Tucker can then think of a solution or way to make it better, right? And then the last page is Tucker's friends are happy when he plays nicely and keep his body to himself. Friends also like it when Tucker uses nice words or have an adult help him when he is upset. So again, children can relate this because it shows a problem, it shows a solution, and it shows the results of the solution. And the end. And we see, even though Tucker's tucked in, he is happy. So with young children, we want to elaborate. You can elaborate on this and embellish this however you like and what you think is appropriate for your child. But mainly, it gives you a modality that is fun and that is relatable, and that helps you to explain about emotions to children. So the key is that we want our children to be able to problem solve, right? Especially in this day and age where we don't know what type of situations our children may find themselves in. They could be on the playground playing with a toy, or running through the jungle gym, or swinging on the swings, and an incident pop up, and we don't know, because if we take our eyes away for a moment, something can happen. Or even with older children, and they're playing together, and we may not even think anything's going on until we hear arguing and yelling or something going on, and we run into the room. But anyway, we want to be able to help our children to think of solutions. So here are some possible solutions for young children that they could use, when they find themselves in a situation. They can get an adult, they can ask nicely, they can ignore it, and so many other of these options here that we have. So here's another little chart that you might want to print out, or just go through it with your child, of problem solving steps. So what is my problem? What is my problem? Is my problem that I want to play on the computer while my sister is playing on the computer now, but I want to play with it now, or, I want to go outside and mom is not ready to take me outside. So what do I do now? So we help our children by posing different situations to them and asking them to think of solutions. And we come up with solutions with them. Well, if your sister's on the computer, and she's not ready to get off yet, Mom, you can either get a timer and set a timer so that the sister knows that she has to get off the computer after a certain period of time. You can set up a schedule. Say, oh, well, Jonathan, you know, your sister Samantha is on the computer from 5 until 6 o'clock, and it's not 6 o'clock yet. So when it's 6 o'clock, sis will get off and you'll be able to get on. That's one solution. Or, you know, you can go and play with something else while you wait for her to finish. Or you can ask her nicely, sis, can I get on the computer? You know, can I you play on the computer for a little while? And she might say yes. So we help them to come up with solutions that can happen. Then we encourage them to try one of their solutions. So, and then first we think about, you know, what could happen and help our child to be able to deal with that situation, looking at all sides of it. What could happen if she says no? Well, I can go and get mom and mom can act as referee. What could happen if she says no? I can go and play with something else. If she says no, then I can just wait my turn. And then you encourage your child to give it a try. Try out one of the solutions you're coming up with until they have exhausted all their solutions. So again, you know, playing problem solving games with our children is really important. And this is a great strategy for not just young children, but it can be used with adults. If you've got teenagers in your house, especially now you're worried about them going out with their friends, especially during this COVID season, you want to make sure that, you know, they're safe. So where are you guys going to go? Oh, we're going to go down to the park. Are you going to be wearing your mask? Well, I'm not going to wear my mask while I'm playing ball. But when you're playing ball, you really should wear your mask as much as you possibly can. And as long as you're outside, just make sure you're outside and you're wearing your mask. So helping our children to problem solve, giving them ideas, giving them solutions will help prepare them, helping them to know what to do in different situations. You can also problem solve before a child goes into you push to put them in timeout. Like this second example, what if you wrote on mommy's bedroom wall with the marker? What do you think I should do? How do you think I would feel? Or how would you feel? What do you think I should do with you? So just kind of problem solving with them helps prepare them and helps them to know the rules, helps them to know what you expect of them. And it gives them a very good sense of what your expectations are. Okay, so these will be on your handout. You can just read through them. There are more problem solving games and activities in your workbook that you can take some time and go through and use what you think is appropriate for your family.
So Denise, the chat box is flooded with this burning question.
Okay, all right, I'll stop. It's just I have a lot that I want to cover with you all.
No.
So we'll
it's only one burning question. How can they get access to that workbook?
They will have it. I downloaded or uploaded some material in the chat. So if you scroll up to the very, very, very top, everything that you will need is up at the very, very top.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. All right. And I apologize. Normally I would stop and this would be very interactive, but there's a lot of information and I really want to give you all as much as I possibly can. And Jeanette, can you help me and let me know when we have about 15 minutes before the session ends?
Sure, I sure can.
Okay. So I'm just going to do a quick time check. Where am I now?
You're at 3:51.
Oh, okay. All right. So I got about 10 more minutes. Okay. So as I said earlier, you want to be able to catch them while they're being good, even when they're doing ordinary things like sitting and eating dinner. You ate your carrots tonight. I really like that you did that. Carrots are good for your eyes. That is really good. I'm so proud of you. And just giving them a nice touch or a pat or a kiss on the cheek will do tremendous things for their self-esteem. Or even with your teenager, if you tell them to come home at 9 o'clock, that you don't want them out on the street at 9 o'clock, and they come back in, thank you. Especially boys, thank you, son. I really appreciate you respecting my rules and my wishes that you come in the house because I worry about you. I'm concerned about you. So, supporting them with positive affirmations each and every time you possibly can will does do wonders for their self-esteem. So again, we're back at this pyramid. So I talked to you about promotional strategies, universal promotional strategies of building a good nurturing relationship with our children, establishing a good nurturing relationship, providing high quality supportive environments by using play, intentionally setting aside time to play with our children, and looking at those prevention skills, which we just talked about, putting in prevention strategies such as doing problem solving games, going over problem solving and problem thinking through activities, helping them to develop those good friendship skills that they will need as they get older and more out into the community. So now we're going to talk about the intensive intervention skills for children, okay? So one of the things we want to do is we want to set the stage for success for our children. I talked to you about anticipating problems, helping them to do problem solving activities, going over different problems, situation, and giving them solutions before it becomes a problem, giving them solutions before they have a challenging behavior. Because if that teenager doesn't come in at 9 o'clock, there's going to be a challenging behavior with you because you're not going to understand why they're not listening and following the directions and the rules of the house. Or with a young child, if they're fighting with their siblings, that's a challenging situation for you. Or if they're throwing down on the floor and having a temper tantrum because they want to have dessert before they have dinner, that's creating a challenging situation for you because then you have to be able to anticipate what will happen and give them the skills that they need to be able to make the right choices, right? So let's look at challenging behaviors and let's try to understand what the child behavior is saying and what it is the child is trying to tell us. Because challenging behavior is not something that the child goes through. A challenging behavior is what we as adults go through because the child engages in challenging behavior because it works for them. They've learned that if they fall on the floor and roll over on the floor that they're going to get what they want or they're going to get out of what they want to get out of. But it becomes a challenge for us because we have to try to understand what it is our children are trying to tell us. And we have to remember that they're doing this because they don't have any other skills. So let's talk about skills that we can give them. First, we have to remain calm. No matter what our child is doing or what they're going through, we have to remain calm and consistent and not allow ourselves to get caught up into their challenging behavior. And sometimes, you know, we can do one or two things during a challenging behavior episode. We can choose to ignore it, or we can choose to wait, or we can choose to address it right then and there. So sometimes if we ignore it, we just giving ourselves and the child time to calm down. But once the child is calmed down, that's when you come in to teach them. I know you were upset that you couldn't have your dessert before dinner. But remember, we have a rule that we have to eat our dinner first and then we can have our dessert. And you teach this to them in a calm voice and you try to stay focused on what is happening now. Don't use it as an opportunity to chastise them and say, didn't I tell you not to throw yourself on the floor? You're not going to get what you want that way. We want to be able to change our conversation in the way we're starting to guide and direct ourselves. Because remember, if your child is having a temper tantrum at home, trust me, they're having it in schools. And schools are having a tough time dealing with it. And many children get expelled and suspended from preschool and school district programs because of their behavior. So we want to be able to teach our children when they're going through that. Again, getting back to what is reasonable. Think about what is the reasonable expectation. Maybe the child doesn't really understand the rules. So that's a chance for me to go back and teach it to them and model what the rule looks like. Well, we don't throw ourselves on the floor. We ask for our dessert. And if I tell you you can't have your dessert, it is not good for you to throw yourself on the floor. What you have to do is you have to wait. And we have to always teach our children to wait their turn, to wait for their turn to get what they're asking for. And we want to use logical consequences when children engages in challenging behavior. So here's an example. One is if a child throws a block at their sister. The logical consequence that follows that is the parent takes the block away. We don't have to, it's not World War I. We don't have to really go, out, come outside of ourselves because the child threw a block at the sister when you've told them over and over again that we don't hit our children, we don't hit our siblings. You simply just take it away. Or if a brother and sister are fighting, okay, you can't play together, so you're both going to go into separate rooms. So we think of logical consequences. We wouldn't want to, if a child throws a block, then we put them in timeout. Not unless it's chronic and it's repetitive. But you know what I mean? You want to have logical and sequential consequences to what's happening and not go to the extremes, okay? And here's some other examples. So if a child keeps dumping water out of the tub, what do? Take them out of the tub. Maybe put them in another room where they can play, or put them in their playpen. What we take them out of the water. We tell them we don't dump the water on the floor. If you keep dumping the water on the floor, mommy's going to have to take you out of the tub. And we say it calmly. So this way the child starts to learn that they have to have certain behaviors while they're in the tub. So we want to be able to also present limited and reasonable choices. Sometimes when children want what they want and they're not willing to look or listen or do what we would like for them to do, we can offer them some reasonable choices. Remember, children don't know a whole lot about how to deal with situations when they don't go their way. We have to teach this to them. So a good way to help our children to develop the skills that we need them to have is to give them some limited but reasonable choices. So I'm going to practice a few of them with you, but there's other in your workbook that you can look through, okay? So for dressing, can we give our children a reasonable choice around dressing? Yeah. Okay, you want to wear that shirt to school? Okay, well, that shirt you can only wear on the weekends, but you can choose to wear the red or the blue shirt that may be a uniform, that you can choose one of these to wear, because even in remote learning, you have to dress up like you're going to school. So bathing, can we offer a choice around bathing? Yeah, we can offer, well, do you want to take a bath or do you want to take a shower? But you're going to get a bath. So we always want to give them a choice around what it is we expect them to do. So you have to think as a parent, how can you come up with creative choices around these normal everyday activity, right? So one other thing you will get, for those of you who haven't downloaded, but for those of you who have, you will get another booklet called Family Routine Guides. And it has all of these different routines that families do, like dressing, bathing, dinner, riding in the car, shopping. It has a plethora of different situations and events that families do, and it offers you some choices in line with those situations that might be good choices for you to offer to your child. Okay, so try to think about, can we offer choices during every situation in which we see a challenging behavior? So the idea is you want to try to give your child new skills. You want to build new skills in them. Skills around turn taking, asking for a turn. Well, you can't get on the computer because your sister's on the computer. That routine guide has a chart that will help you to be able to teach your child new skills around turn taking, around asking for an object, around an activity, or even around help, or even around asking for hugs. Because sometimes when children emotions are, kind of, chaotic for them, and they may not even know how they feel, sometimes just a hug will help alleviate a lot of their emotions and a lot of things that they're feeling. So try to think about, what new skills do you have to teach your child? And here you want to think about what is reasonable and limit, give them limited but reasonable choices. So for instance, around dinner time. So would offering French fries or mashed potatoes or tater tots be a reasonable choice around a food option for dinner? So you can say to your child, well, I'm making dinner tonight. Would you prefer to have French fries or do you want to have a mashed potato? offering them choices. Would you rather have broccoli, or would you rather have carrots with your dinner? So offering them choices. And my mom used to use this one real often with me because she had 5 other children besides me. Do you want to spank it, or do you want to play nice? Sometimes we may have to remind our children of the consequences of not playing nice. Do you want to go to timeout, or do you want to play nicely? Do you want to play by yourself, or do you want to play nicely? Okay, then remember the rules. One of the rules is we want to play nicely. We don't want to hit our brothers and sisters. And there's some more here. And the workbook that you're going to get is going to be really, really, really good for you to help do some of these, make some of these choices. This is one of my favorite strategies here. The first and the then. A lot of teachers use this in classrooms. So if you're using this at home, it's very much in line with what your children are learning. The first and then schedule looks like you tell your child what they need to do first in order for them to do what it is they want to do. It's a great negotiation strategy. So in the example of wanting dessert before dinner, say, well, first you have to eat your dinner. You have to completely eat your dinner. Then after you finish your dinner, then you can have your dessert. Or before you can go out and play, you have to first clean up your room and then you can go out. Okay. It's a great strategy to use, especially if you're trying to teach your child to do something that you would like for them to do. Redirection is another great skill. And there are 2 types of redirection. One is physical and one is verbal. With the physical, you're actually helping the child who may be misbehaving by redirecting them into another type of activity. You are actually maybe just softly guiding and gently leading them where you would like for them to go, especially if they are having a challenging episode. You want to remain calm, but you want to remain firm and you want to remain stern about it. Okay. And verbal is you're actually giving them verbal directions about what it is they should do and how they should do it. So redirection is another great strategy. Oh, I just gave you out the directions. So all of these strategies that I just talked to you about, they fall under what we call positive behavior supports. School districts use them a lot. I'm empowering you as families, as parents, to use them at home. And I want to show you 2 videos. I want to show you a video of a young boy whose mom didn't have any of these strategies that I talked to you about. All right. So we're going to watch this for a minute or 2. And this is his mother here in the white shorts. So, some of us might be able to relate to this because our child may have laid out in public at one time or another. But let's just watch this. This is Brendan before his mom used any of the strategies that I'm telling you about today.
All right, you got 10 seconds, and then we're going inside. Ready? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, next inside. Come on, stand up. Stand up.
I think most of us can relate to this, right? All right. So I think some of us can relate to this. That our child has had a temper tantrum and he's falling out. We got to pick him up and they're arching their back and they're doing all these kind of contortions to come out of our arms. And Brendan's mom had some training in how to deal with his behavior before, because you notice she was doing a countdown. She was giving him a warning about he needed to get up because they were going into the library, because this wasn't the first episode that every time they would take Brendan out into the public, he would engage in this challenging behavior. So mom had tried to get some help to deal with this. And so this was Brendan before his mom started to use some of the skills that I've just talked to you all about. So it may be a little soft because there's not a lot of talking in this one. And sometimes with some children, we may have to just show them and give them that quiet time rather than just giving them orders and directing them and using verbal commands or verbal directions with them. Some children do very well when you're just showing them. So let's just take a look at this and see how Brandon is now with mom using some of the strategies I just talked to you about.
It's right here. It's right here. Okay, now,
She's showing him a picture. See how happy Brendan is? What mom said at the end was she forgot the library card. So he picked out all those books and she forgot a library card. But you can see that she used scripted stories about how Brendan could handle himself in the library. They talked about what to do when they got to the library, some things that he could do. She also had some note cards or some picture cards in her hand to show him that, okay, if you get tired of, like, he sat down at that table game, and then she showed him the picture and he went over to the books because they came there to check out some books. And so he was reminded of what he was supposed to do when he got there. So our children, sometimes they need little supports like that to help them to navigate new situations. And now he can go in and out of the library without any problems. So we're almost done.
We're at a 5-minute mark. It is exactly 4:10.
Okay, great. I'm almost done. Thank you. So with our children, we want to be good detectives and try to understand what our children's behavior is trying to tell us. Brendan's behavior was telling his mom, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know why you want me to go there. You might be taking me to the doctor to get shots that I don't like to get shots. So a lot of different things could be going through his head. So when mom, they took some time to really explain to him what the library is about, where they was going, and what they could do there, he was better able to handle it. So we want to be preventive. We want to act preventive when we're trying to help our children to gain new skills here. And this is just a few suggestions on how we can help our children and to prevent challenging behaviors. Some of these I talked to you about, but you can review this later on when you get your chart. All right. And then there's a family routine guide. All of these areas are in that guide and can help you to come up with a plan that will help your child to be successful in no matter what environment you all find yourselves into. Okay. So you want to use the routine to find activities that your child is having challenging behaviors at, whether it's in the car or whether it's in a restaurant. And the guide will give you some great things to try while you help to build new skills for your child, help your child to learn new skills, okay? I'm sorry I rushed through that, but I want to give you a chance to ask some questions. Here is my contact information if you want to reach out to me for additional information. If you want to find more information on the positive solutions for families and other materials to work with challenging behaviors and on family solutions, you can go to this website here, and the information I've given you in this session is there, as well as tons of other information. So I thank you all for bearing with me. So if you have any questions or comments, please, I'd like to hear.
Thank you, Denise. At this time, I'm just going to download the documents, the workbook. and all the resources that you initially put in the chat. Some of our folks in the audience are able to access, others were not. So I'm just going to go ahead doing it right now so everyone can have the materials, because
Okay.
they're so, you have such great positive feedback about these tools you shared. So I just want to make sure that everybody has it.
Excellent, excellent, excellent.
So it's all in the chat box, and if anybody wants to unmute their lines to ask any questions to Denise, this would be the time to do so. Can we get the PowerPoint slides? Yes, I can upload that. If you could just give me 1 minute. And I also am going to put a survey link in the chat box as well, but please take this opportunity to unmute your mics and ask Denise any questions, or perhaps give her a comment about the presentation. Thank you.
Oh, someone asked, can it be emailed to them? If you send me an email directly, just asking, can I have a copy of the handouts? I'll be glad to give them to you. I apologize that you're not able to download them from the chat, but I can certainly send them to you, or Jeanette.
Okay. Can I ask a quick question?
Absolutely.
This is Carlton Banks. My organization is Families on the Move. I'm a family advocate. So you said Spain, you're located out of Jersey. Are you susceptible to just in-house in Jersey, or are y'all outside of Jersey, or you work with people in New York also?
We work with people all over the country. The project is located in New Jersey. The project that I work for is funded by a grant from the state of New Jersey. So most of my work is in the state of New Jersey, but SPAN is nationwide, and New York is part of the territories that, being the Northeast Parent Training and Information Center, SPAN provides support to parents and professionals in New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, northward. Okay.
Okay.
And we provide support to all of the parent centers in the United States, and some that are internationally as well.
All right. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, so all right, what I'm going to go ahead and do, I'm getting a lot of private messages and a couple other messages. I'm going to go ahead and save the chat. So for those of you who sent an email address and want these materials, I most certainly can send that to you. Just put it in the chat box. Either just do it mainly. Don't do it privately, because the chat won't save that way. So just put it to everyone. I'm sure not everybody here is going to, email you, but put it in the main chat box that you want it emailed to you, and we will go ahead and do that. If you private message it to me, I'm not going to be able, it will not download any private messages in the chat. Okay. I think that might be better. I keep uploading it, but still there's a lot of folks who are having some challenges.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and put the survey link. Hopefully you won't have a challenge with that. So let me at least do that before we close out our session. But Denise, you have a very overwhelming response of what a wonderful presentation. You did such a great job illustrating and presenting the content. Folks want to know if this is something they can use. Is this copyrighted?
No, it's not copyrighted. You can use it. I gathered this presentation from the Challenging Behaviors website that I posted on the last slide, and you can use it however you choose. If you're a professional and you're working with parents, you can give it, you can provide these strategies and techniques to parents. If you're a parent and you want to hold a discussion forum, which we're using them in our parent circle times as discussion forums for families on, just using new skills, because kids don't come with instructions, right? And we don't learn a lot of the things that they do in schools of how they help our children to develop socially and emotionally. So, these are presented to you free of charge to use as you please. If you want some ideas, again, you can email me and I'll be glad to just elaborate a little bit more how we're using these these strategies with families here in New Jersey and across the country. Okay.
Okay, wonderful. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the link for, we have a keynote speaker for Thursday, November 12th, and I'm gonna put the link in the chat box so you can register for those sessions. And this concludes our portion of the presentation. I want to thank Denise for lending her time and her expertise on the
Oh, my pleasure.
content, and for all of you for being on her webinar. This concludes our portion, and thank you.
Thank you all. Have a good day.